Hello and welcome to my video, the Resiliency Framework discussion. My name is Bekka Beaufeaux and this video is in fulfillment of the final assignment for the online course EDMA 699, Reflection and Resiliency in My Life for the summer semester of 2022, as offered by St. Mary's University of Minnesota. My instructor for this course is Dr. Gregory Martin. Funding for my graduate studies was provided by McDonell Area Catholic Schools. The framework I decided to use for this discussion is that of the traditional grief cycle. I will be discussing a circumstance in my life that happened while I was a junior and senior in high school, the deployment of my father to active duty in Fallujah, Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom from 2007 to 2008. The 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. They were first published in a 1969 book by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and are also known as the Kubler-Ross model of grief. According to Jamie Byron, licensed marriage and family therapist as well as grief therapist, the stages of grief are not meant to be prescriptive but rather descriptive. They are meant to give more detail and context about grief to help normalize the experience for the individual griever. In essence, this means that a person can experience any stage at any time during their grief journey. Something that interested me about the grief experience is that you can have full acceptance of the event one day, the seeming end of the line of grief, but the very next day you can be back in the denial or bargaining phrases. In this second graphic, I really liked how it shows the difference between the functioning of a person working through grief and how an ebb and flow are established with the different sections. In my life circumstance, I lived in a single-parent household. My parents divorced when I was age 5, and we, my sister, brother, and I lived in joint custody as determined by the court system of North Dakota. Our custody agreement was a lot like others of the 90s and early 2000s. We were with my mom during the school year and with my dad during school breaks, such as winter, Easter, and summer. My dad was involved in the military for essentially all of my childhood. He climbed to the rank of lieutenant colonel through the Army National Guard. He was reactivated from a reserve unit during my junior and senior years of high school. As a person looking in from the outside, it may have seemed the same. Bekka lives with her mom and her brother. What was going on inside was very different. Knowing that the out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality worked during the daytime didn't help the situation when I would get home and wouldn't be able to call him about my latest school assignment, football cheerleading experience, art show, or music concert. I went through all of the stages of grief during this time. Shock and denial. This can't be happening. He's much too old to be deployed to such a high-risk zone. Anger. Why him? He's already served through the Vietnam conflict, Persian Gulf, and been deployed to Honduras. Depression and detachment. He's not in danger, he's just away. Dialogue and bargaining. He'll come back whole if I do what I can to support my family. And acceptance. There's nothing I can do but stay in my lane. This photo was really important to me when it was taken. My dad is the stout guy on the far left, and smack dab in the middle is none other than Chuck Norris himself. This was during the time that Chuck Norris jokes were huge, and my dad was invited to see a show at their camp. Behind them, you'll notice the Marines flag. That's because he was deployed with a different branch of the military for his specialties. This photo was printed out and hung on the outside of my locker after my teachers found out about my dad's deployment, something that I didn't openly share at the time. It was one way that my small town high school was able to show their support. This event changed my worldview because all of a sudden I was actively and intimately involved with a conflict happening half a world away. I was glued to the TV concerning different military moves, deployment schedules, and the discussion on whether or not the U.S. should even be in a conflict in this region at all. I was impacted in my professional practice later as an educator through reflective moments concerning students who are a part of military families. I take Veterans Day very seriously, and now at my school we celebrate it with a commemorative performance for all K through 12 music students. It's a free event that is in conjunction with an art show featuring patriotic artwork created during the first month of school. I'm able to see how the military ties in our community, and specifically our school system, can bring people together in Thanksgiving for the sacrifices made by individuals and families. Through my personal experience with this grief cycle, I would experience setbacks in various ways. For example, in the middle of classes, I might zone out, thinking about what my dad might be experiencing at that same moment. Other times, I would drown myself in work to do my job as described by my dad, to get the most out of my educational experience that he was actively building for girls in Iraq, as he was a key proponent to building bomb-resistant structures for schools in the area he served in. Before the deployment, I felt detached about the conflict. I didn't have any skin in the game, so it didn't seem to affect me much. In the moment, however, I remember being moved to tears at just about every sporting event when the national anthem was played. I was slated to sing the anthem a few times and had to back out because I would be overcome with emotion. After this experience, I'm able to recognize how the calls with my dad at night affected me in more ways than I originally thought. My grades would sway. Friendships would become either extremely important or trivial in other instances. And in other areas, I shot like a rocket, particularly in some tech ed courses. I feel like my personal experience with having a parent deployed to a dangerous zone during an active military conflict has affected me as a person and a teacher. I can recognize that outside experiences affect the whole child or person. We can truly only see what people present, and we may not know what's going on below the surface or behind closed doors. The best advice I can give would be to establish a relationship with as many students as possible early in the school year. Let the kids know you are a safe space in which they can be real. I had a teacher in high school who I still talk to today, and this is his photo. This is Mr. Mike Holstead. He didn't know anything about my dad's military involvement, but he knew something with me was extremely off. He was one of the shop teachers, and instead of probing for too much information, he offered me a safe place. In one particular remembrance, he allowed me to wail on some wood pallets that he just so happened to need to be deconstructed at that certain point in time. This was a situation which I had no control over. However, I managed to get through it. When you're in a moment of extreme distress, a person will do whatever it takes to keep existing. Navigating through this experience had me looking to outlets for connection. There weren't any real organizations like a family readiness group, FRG for those in the know, because I wasn't in a town where a unit was actively deployed from. My main parent wasn't involved in the process as my parents were divorced, so it became a patchwork of support from those who knew what was going on. I think the grief cycle covers a lot of elements of the situation I experienced, but missed out on one main part. That's the guilt that can be associated in a survivor-like relationship. I knew my dad was in harm's way and I wasn't. It wasn't a fair situation, as he had been called out of the reserves due to special skills. It's hard to explain because so many emotions are tied into this situation itself. Some key events were mentioned earlier in the presentation, including disbelief in the bad luck of the situation, pride associated with having a family member in the armed forces serving, detachment from the situation as I tried to proceed as normal, and anger at the involvement of our military in a seemingly unwinnable conflict. In the end, my dad was able to return home. He came back, however, a changed person. A traumatic brain injury from an improvised explosive device led to a longer stay than normal in Germany at an Army medical center. PTSD from situations he can't or won't recall. Hearing loss, affected vision, and burn pit-induced issues all follow his deployment almost 14 years later. Our family has changed a lot since then, and my relationship with him has changed as well. All in all, we have to play the cards we are dealt in life. The best way to move forward is to recognize that hard experiences like this make us who we are meant to be. My experience as a child of a deployed military person have shown me the importance of treating everyone with love and respect, as they may be fighting a battle we know nothing about. I think it is also so important to note that the grief cycle does not only apply to people dealing specifically with death. Grief can manifest in many different ways for many different situations, and as educators, we need to keep our eyes open for our students. I only have a single reference for this presentation, as all the information contained within the presentation centers around my personal experience. Thank you so much for watching this and understanding the importance of treating military deployments with particular grace and understanding.